Question number one, and this comes from TikTok, and this gentleman says that humans also go through gluconeogenesis and that it doesn't replace the need for dietary carbs. And yes and no. I mean, this was a video I made on gluconeogenesis in dogs, and gluconeogenesis is a very simple concept, and that is that your dog doesn't need any blood sugar coming from carbs. That means that your dog can make their own energy from protein and fat. They are optimized to make their own blood sugar, their own energy from protein and fat. To break them down, they use something called protease and lipase, which are the two enzymes that break down proteins and fats and turn them into energy. And that they have limited amounts of amylase, which is the enzyme that breaks down carbohydrates. They do not have amylase in the mouth, in the saliva, so they cannot break down starches in the mouth. So when me and you eat bread, we start breaking it down in the mouth. Dogs cannot. Therefore, we hint that, or we suspect that dogs are more meat eaters than anything else. People take that sort of thing and take that from dogs, that they can actually digest some carbohydrates because they have taken some evolutionary steps in order for them to break down carbohydrates, and they will say, well, my dog is an omnivore. No, my dog is not an omnivore. Your dog is a meat eater, first of all, and then it's a fat eater, second of all. So humans also go through gluconeogenesis. It doesn't replace the need for dietary requirements, for dietary carbs. Yes, I mean, if you go on a carb restricted diet, on a keto diet, and I've done this a couple times, your pee will go very, very dark very, very quickly. These are the famous ketones, and your body's ability to change the chemical pathways by which it derives energy from. So, I mean, broadly speaking, we have three energy systems: the ATP, the glycolytic system, and the fatty acid oxidation system. And whenever your body runs out of one source of quick carbs, then it starts eating into your muscles. And then if your body doesn't get any more energy, any more fuel, your body will start eating itself from the fat storage cells and the fats that are stored in your body. This is why marathon runners are skeletal, they are extremely thin, because they tend to run on the fatty acid oxidation system. So whenever we say that humans also go through gluconeogenesis, yes, we can go through gluconeogenesis, but we are not optimized to just eat protein and fat. We need carbohydrates. If not, I mean, you can do this ketosis thing for a very long time, and maybe after 2-3 months, you are going to maybe start, suffering from some severe kidney conditions and some other things that are not that good for your body, because you need carbohydrates. We need carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are primarily source of energy for humans, but dogs aren't. I mean, if you look at a dog's mouth, if you look at a dog's tract, if you look at a dog's gut, if you look at a dog's overall body shape, they are meat eaters. It doesn't replace the need for dietary carb. Feed your dog more meat, and you as a human, you should try different sources of energy. I wanted to do a little segment on gun dogs, and this is something that a lot of people have asked us in our branches. And it's shooting season here in the UK, and if you take your dog shooting with you, or if you're working your dog wherever you are in the world, and the climate is boggy, is rainy, is not very friendly when it comes to being sunny, and it's not warm, it's the complete opposite. If your dog is out and about all day, every day with you, running up and down that field and either catching prey or retrieving prey or doing things for you, long hours, short days, really, really miserable weather conditions here in the UK, what are some tips that you can do with your dog? There's two main things you can do with your gun dog. The first one is keep them well hydrated. I mean, this is just a must do. Take a travel ball with you and make sure you take enough water with you to give your dog. So anytime, every hour, every 90 minutes, always make sure there's water available for your dog. In terms of food, make sure you add enough moisture to your dog's diet. So the first one is hydration, the second one is moisture. When it comes to food, what food should you give your gun dog? You should not give your dog any grains, no wheat, no barley, no corn, no soy. So if you have a food that's working dog, that's labeled as working dog, that's just a VAT scheme here in the UK. That just means that you're not paying VAT for your working dog food. It doesn't make the working dog food appropriate just for working dogs. Dog food can be either good or bad, but it doesn't mean working dog, not working dog. Those are just labels. So make sure there aren't any of these inflammatory ingredients on the back of the bag, and that the first few animal proteins are that animal proteins. We want to see good quality animal proteins, and we want to see, if possible, 2 different meat sources. We want to have something highly digestible on a morning and something a bit richer at night. If you think about it, your gun dog wakes up and it's ready to rock and roll. But before that, you have to give the dog breakfast. Make sure that protein is highly digestible. You don't eat a full English breakfast, or you don't eat something very, very heavy and then start exercising. You eat something maybe light and then you start exercising. You should think about that. You should think about the same with your gun dog. So something like turkey or chicken on a morning, something turkey or chicken based on a morning would do really, really well for your dog. It's highly digestible protein. It would do really, really well. And then at night, you can introduce a bit more of your omega-3s, salmon, mackerel. We can give the dog something like deer or game or lamb or anything a bit richer, but that rich meat shouldn't be fed on a morning, but afterwards, after everything has been accomplished through the day. So those are 2 or 3 very quick tips. How much should you feed your working dog? You should definitely up the amount of food you give your working dog. Why? Well, if your dog is up and down all day, every day, you need to make sure that you are fueling all that exercise and all that energy. You do not want peaks and troughs of focus. You want a dog that's, constantly on the ball with you and trying to help. And in order for your dog to help you, you need to feed them a bit more. If you are feeding raw, 2, 3, 4 percentages, that could be a good start. If you are feeding your dog kibble, maybe between 5 and 10% more. Bear in mind that you're going to be out on a field in pretty poor conditions every day. So you need to feed your dog, and you don't need to be scared to do so. So always feed the dog and see what happens. And what will happen is that your dog will have a lot of energy. So plenty of water, quality nutrition. Make sure you feed the dog high quality protein in the morning and then something a bit richer at night. Make sure you up the quantity of food you are giving your dog, and your dog will be ready to go. And I hope hunting season and gun dog season is a very prosperous one for you. Another question, and this came from TikTok, and it says that people who insist dogs and cats can have vegan diets are even worse. It's their agenda to make all cats and dogs vegan. They come up with obscure surveys that claim vegan diets are better than meat. Talking to them is exhausting. Yeah, I do. Thank you for the question, by the way. And I do think that a lot of people get entrenched into these viewpoints, and then they just harp whatever viewpoint they have and project that viewpoint onto other people, and they won't move. Whereas we are a bit more flexible. We see a few vegan treats or a few vegan foods for dogs, and we say, right, there must be like a market for this, and we have seen it actually. If your dog is allergic to everything, maybe a couple vegan treats won't do your dog any harm. Is it the best? No. We see that certain vegan things, like sweet potato, for example, oats, those are vegan, and those can be very beneficial. Chia seeds can be very beneficial to your dog, and those are vegan. And we are talking about soluble and insoluble fiber there for your dog. We're talking about foods that can have a benefit to your dog, and they are vegan. And my dog only eats meat, but I can recognize that sometimes vegan dog treats can actually be beneficial to your dog. When it comes to cats, cats are a bit different. They're a lot different actually. You would not feed your rabbit a bunch of meat or your horse a bunch of meat. That wouldn't be species appropriate. So whenever we feed cats a lot of these commercial foods, they contain so many carbohydrates that cats cannot digest and that are detrimental to our cat's health. So cat food is infuriating. I say it every single time. I don't like it. Cats are obligate carnivores. They absolutely need meat in order to survive and to be the best version of themselves. They don't have certain pathways in order to break down carbohydrates, so they cannot break down carbohydrates. Hepatic glucokinase, for example, in the liver, they don't produce that enzyme, so they cannot therefore transform carbohydrates into sugar. They can transform meat and fat into sugar, but not carbohydrates. So yeah, vegan dog treats sometimes. Vegan cat treats or vegan cat food, no, your cat will probably die or have a very miserable life. Cats need a lot of meat and fresh quality meat, and they need taurine, which is the essential amino acid that comes from fresh meat and helps your cat liver function, eyesight, get pregnant, get better in terms of overall health, the coat, the teeth, everything. Your cat needs meat, and you should be giving your cat meat. Interested to know your thoughts on soil-based probiotics, and this comes from YouTube, and I absolutely love this question, so thank you very much. Interested to know your thoughts on soil-based probiotics. What a wonderful question. So soil-based probiotics refer to the bacteria, to the fermentation in soil that occurs naturally. It's a certain degradation of the soil, and dogs do very well on these probiotics. If you think about it, and I listened to a presentation by a doctor, by a veterinary doctor rather, and he was saying that one of the theories is that if your dog has a bone or has something that resembles a bone, they might try to bury it in the garden. And why do they bury it in the garden? Maybe for up to like 2 or 3 months, and then go back and chomp on it and then eat it. Why do they do that? Well, they do that because they want that bone, they want whatever we are giving them to ferment, to degrade a little bit, and then to eat it so they can benefit from those natural probiotics. And that makes a lot of sense to me, and it's a theory, but it's a very good one. It's a very good theory. If your dog has a bone and they bury it and they then go back on it and they start eating it, that bone will have been fermented, will be disgusting, will have been touched by different bugs and by flora and fauna. And those are soil-based probiotics, natural soil-based probiotics. We do have to recognize that our dogs have incredibly powerful acid stomachs, stomach acids rather. And those stomach acids are just like battery acids, actually. So they can digest a lot easier than we think or we give them credit for. If they eat, shards of bone, or if they eat small whatever, and that whatever is digestible in the stomach, they will pulverize bone. They will pulverize whatever they need to pulverize in order to get that energy from that bone, from whatever they have taken in. And they digest a lot faster than us because the stomachs are a lot shorter than ours, typical of carnivores. So interested to know your thoughts on soil-based probiotics. I love them. I actually love them. I think it's great. And I think that if you extrapolate your dog hiding a bone in the garden and then that bone getting covered in flora and fauna and worms and what have you, and then your dog going back and eating it, there's something to that. There's something biologically ingrained in your dog's head, in your dog's brain, and that tells me that that's very good because it is natural and we like natural things. So soil-based probiotics, yeah, they are great. Coupled with a good diet, coupled with a fresh diet, soil-based probiotics will do your dog's microbiome extremely healthy, extremely resilient. Bear in mind that whenever we eat yogurt, for example, yogurt contains live bacteria. It's, and beer is fermented. So those are live things going into us, and that's really good for us because whenever we break it down, that that gut microbiome gets healthier and healthier. So doing the same for your dog can actually be very, very beneficial. Soil-based probiotics, wonderful. If your dog hides a bone in the garden and then goes back and eats it, let him do it because that's part of the inkling and what they should be doing as an animal. So yeah, thank you so much for the question.